Hey, and welcome back to our weekly YouTube update. Today, Saturday, February the 13th. And while we just talked about GVRD and its January sales, the numbers are in for the province of British Columbia now. And surprise, surprise, we had another record. 7,169 homes sold last month in BC. Thing is, this is 63% higher than last year, and it's over 1,000 more homes than the previous record set. That's 17% higher than ever recorded before.
Yeah, it's so busy. I mean, we've just been flat out since the start of the year, and seeing these numbers really doesn't surprise me. And honestly, speaking, talking to every other ancillary person in the industry, from inspectors to photographers to mortgage brokers, everybody's flat out right now, and it's multiple offers everywhere.
Yeah, we looked at the numbers from last month. Especially in the single family market, it looks like about 31% of all homes are selling above the asking price, which essentially means those are selling in a bidding war. One in three. So if you go out on a tour, you look at three homes, chances are the one you like is the one other people like, and you're in a multiple situation.
Well, I think on our last market update, we talked about it being a seller's market across the board. For all property types, right? And usually we look for a ratio that's in and about 20% of homes being sold, which qualifies the marketplace as a seller's market. But we're well into the 30% here, which is crazy. It's very busy.
Thing is, too, they're seeing it over on the island. Victoria, for example, just hit an all-time new high price for your average home at 1.22 million. It's higher than Vancouver over there right now.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So
why is that? I was just saying, why is that?
Yeah, they're largely seeing the luxury market have a lot of interest right now, so it's pulling up your average price.
Is the luxury market, generally speaking, on the island undervalued compared to Vancouver's? Is that why we're seeing?
The island has kind of been considered on sale, quote unquote, compared to Vancouver for many years, but now we've got them eclipsing the average sale price. So things are actually kind of flipping the other way.
I wouldn't say it's on sale anymore.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
And honestly, like similar to GVRD here and out to the Valley and Whistler and everywhere else, the island, like the whole island is hot. And the NIMO numbers are insane. Parksville, obviously Victoria, Langford, like the whole island apparently is incredibly active, just like we're seeing here on the mainland.
Yeah, I mean, sales are up this time over last year, 57%.
57. So there you go. Bonkers. Yeah, we got the province as a whole at 63. The island is obviously contributing heavily to this at the 57% mark.
Which is interesting because when you consider all of this data and you start looking at employment numbers, Canada actually lost 213,000 jobs in January.
Yeah.
It's the second consecutive decline since April. It's I mean, that being said, we still have unemployment levels now around 4.5%, and when you get into the 4%, you see the economy beginning to actually hire what quote unquote the unhirables, depending on the industry. And but that was pre-pandemic levels. We're now at 9.4%, which is not good, generally speaking.
Yeah, sure. Up from May at 13.7% unemployment. But as usual, here we go again, BC bucking the trend. So while Canada lost 213 jobs, our province here in BC, it actually gained 2,800. So our unemployment in this province is about 8% compared to the national at 9.4. So BC, again, is outperforming the national average.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see that for the next, 2 to 3 years. I mean, BC is still, a very sought after place to live. I don't think that's going to change. If anything, I think it might creep down from there. It's where a lot of the work is, right? So that being said, if we look at the mortgage credit growth too, the residential mortgage credit growth is running at about 7.5% year over year. That's the fastest pace of growth since 2011.
Yeah, exactly. So that essentially just means the access to credit is quite easy right now, and it's growing at such a pace that we haven't seen these levels in 10 years, right? So if you can get the credit, if you can get a mortgage, you're going to buy a house, and that's what people are doing, and they're buying them at record low interest rates. So this is continuing to fuel sales, right? And so We just saw, second to only 2016 in January. Well, guess what February is doing? We're at like over 1,600 sales so far this month, on pace to break 3,600 for the month. That is second only, again, to 2016.
And I would want to say that the only reason I think it's second to 2016 is because in 2016 we had more supply than we do now. I think if we had similar supply numbers, you'd be seeing a similar number of transactions. But people are getting beat left, right, and center, and they don't have anything else to go to until more supply comes on the marketplace. So it's and it's not just for single family homes. We're seeing this for all property types across all markets.
Yeah, we're seeing condos tick up. And so I think to get into a bit of our anecdotal, our boots on the ground stories, we had a client in Albion who was looking to do a bit of a move up. He lives in the neighborhood now and wanted to buy a bigger detached home for his growing family. And we found a nice one for him that was on the market for $999,000. 65 showings over 3 days this thing received. Apparently it was just a gong show there. There were people parking on the neighbors' lots and driveways and gardens, and it's just crazy. Like people literally fighting to get into this property to see it. On offer day, I believe the number was 11 offers. Most were subject free. Sold for $127,000 over asking price.
It's 12.7% over what they're asking.
Right, but the story goes deeper. Yeah. No, take it. Let them know what happened there.
Yeah, I mean, when we're looking at the fact that in 2015 these guys paid $540,000 for their home, and they sold it 6 years later for 1.126, if you will, it's a $600,000 gain in 6 years.
And this is a 6-year-old house, right? So they moved in, they did no improvements. And every year they lived in their house, it appreciated on average $100,000.
In Albion.
In Albion, Maple Ridge, we're talking about here. Yeah, and this is just a nice little 4-bed, unfinished basement home.
Yeah, interesting.
That's what the demand is like. So to buy a detached home in Albion, you're dropping over $1 million right now.
But it's not just single family homes. I mean, we have a listing. It's a condo. I can't actually tell you what it sold for, other than it's setting a record price, multiple offers, and done in 1 day.
Yeah. So
Dan,
this is
you can
condo.
maybe elaborate a little more. But
yeah. So 11-year-old building, 12-year-old building, downtown Maple Ridge, 1 bed, top floor, 4th story wood frame, and 655 square feet kind of thing. We listed it on a Monday. On the Tuesday, 8 showings back to back. By Tuesday night, multiple offers. That night, we had accepted offer and accepted backup offer. Both those offers are 10% higher than any other number achieved in that building before. And that includes going through 2016, 17, all that. So we're just seeing
records.
I think
price
the
records.
trickle down effect from the detached, from the townhomes. We're now seeing condos in multiple areas now really picking up steam and hitting multiples and setting records.
Totally. And one thing that, we can kind of talk a little bit more in detail about this. Yesterday, we actually interviewed the owners of Urban Analytics on our podcast, and that's going to be released later today. And honestly speaking, they were talking about how in typical markets, the outflow typically happens from the downtown core and then spreads out to the suburb areas. But what we're actually seeing now is a bit of a reverse. We're seeing all of the suburb areas that are growing tremendously. I mean, you're looking at, price appreciations in Abbotsford and Chilliwack and Mission, where they're going up by 20+%. Right. And we've seen the downtown condo market, which is down 14%. So what we're starting to see is all these people that have gone out into the suburbs trying to buy property, but that supply is getting eaten up quickly. And now we're starting to see them come back to the downtown core. So we're starting to actually see a whole lot more activity in downtown condos and things like that. And that's the next wave, I think, that we're gonna be talking about.
I agree. Now, like we are going to continue, I think, to remind people is that this rate of appreciation is unhealthy and definitely unsustainable. Something is going to happen, right? This is not going to go on forever, just like it didn't go on forever in 2016, 2017. It will likely be some type of policymaker induced suppression on prices. So as an example of what might happen, just recently, just last week in New Zealand, Now, remember, New Zealand, they also relaxed restrictions on lending to help stimulate growth, like a lot of other G7 countries did. Similar to what we're seeing here in Canada, similar to the States, prices went up 12.8% this year. So what did Canada just do? 13.
About the same. Yeah.
Right. So we're seeing, it's very much mirrored. So this is why I think a lot of the policymakers are going to look to New Zealand to see, okay, what's going to happen with their new introduction of lending restrictions. And so what they've done, they're now basically saying for an owner-occupied home. Oh, wait, let me back up. New Zealand has zero foreign investment allowed. Zero. They don't allow it. Only locals can buy there. So in the last year, it was only locals still hit that 13% mark almost.
Wow.
So, and we're basically seeing that here with the border shut, right? So everyone who thought that all of our appreciation and numbers were growing so fast because of foreign investment, not really the case, it appears, right? The data is telling us otherwise. So the restrictions that they've just introduced, owner-occupied buildings or homes rather, they're asking for a minimum of 20% down. Now, that's largely the case here in Vancouver already, because you have to have 20% once you crack the $1 million mark, which is your average price. But here's the kicker. Investors, they've upped it to 30% down, whereas in Canada, we're 20. And that's right away. And after May, it goes up to 40% down payment minimum for an investment condo. Or sorry, investment property. That can be detached. It can be any type of property. So they're doing that to...
Well, that I mean, I appreciate that, but at the end of the day, they're just going to come here and buy our stuff. Because at the end of the day, who's going to spend 40% on an investment property? They be looking at other markets if you're an investor, right?
Yeah, quite possibly. So we'll keep an eye on this. We'll track it, see how much it actually suppresses the pricing there in New Zealand. But again, that's just one example of the type of scenarios that can just overnight, hey, guess what? 40 points down on an investment property, because
and I mean,
we tend to act quick.
And we've spoken about it before. We've heard the rumblings of a national foreign buyers tax that's going to be applied to Canada. I know there's all kinds of articles out right now suggesting that that's going to help, but I don't get how that helps when we've got closed borders and we've still got this demand. I mean, I get it. In 2020, there was a lot of people that maybe were planning to buy their home in 2020, and because of the pandemic, they decided not to. So all of those buyers are now in today's market, along with everybody else who decided to buy this year. So our local demand is huge. But then you add in the fact that, we're going to have non-essential travel opening up, hopefully at some point this year. And then what? It's going to go even more bonkers. I don't know how we sustain this kind of growth, how we limit this kind of growth. I don't know. We need to supply the market with more property. It's that simple.
Agreed. Okay, so there you go. That is our weekly update of what's going on in the Vancouver real estate market. Again, for more in-depth analysis and, of course, all of our beautiful new listings, please go check out thevancouverlife.com.
Yeah, and be sure that you guys check out the Urban Analytics podcast that we are releasing later today. That is full of really cool information and very eye-opening.
Appreciate it. Have a great day.